Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of April 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Sorry for making you wait a little longer than everybody else is. I've had some life shizzle that I've needed to deal with. So, before we go any further, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is link number 1 in the description box. Link number 2 is to the 6-month overviews that I've done for each of the signs. They run from January to June 2023, and obviously we are now halfway through that period. So if you are interested in finding out what that time frame has in store for you and you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, go and have a look, because I've knocked the prices down accordingly, and I think for the length and the depth of the reading, it's extremely good value. The third link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. You can get access to all the extended content for no extra cost, and there's an incredible group of people out there, some interesting discussions going on. If it sounds like the sort of thing you'd be interested in, please do avail yourself of that link. Right, Sagittarius, let's have a look and see what is going on with you. We have the Hermit in your recent past. It's Virgo energy. Tell me about Ooh. We have the Page of Swords in your present energy, and what is coming towards Sagittarius for April, please. We have King of Cups, Scorpio energy. Right, 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. And it feels very strongly to me, let's flip this over here, move the shit out of the way, you don't need to see, that there's some sort of new thing, new perspective, new idea that has arrived in your consciousness, and I actually feel like a sense of consumption about it, like you are consumed by this new thing. Let's get some clarifiers out and see what's going on with you there. Let's give this a proper shuffle so I know that it's... Right. Tell me about the Hermit, please. What's this here for Sagittarius? Ooh. We have the King of Swords and the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Tell me about the Page of Swords. We have the Magician. Wonderful. And the King of Wands. Amazing. Tell me about the King of Cups, please. We have the Chariot with the 5 of Swords. Interesting. Okay. We have the Queen of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So we've got a King and a Queen pairing there, which I like very much. I like it when both of the King and the Queen from any given suit come out, because it's very balanced energy. And so what we've got going on here, I mean, despite the fact that we've got a lot of action because we've got 3 kings in one place, we've got a corresponding amount of internal consideration going on first. I think that's probably the best way to put it, because the queens are the internal subjective experience of the suit that they represent, right? So in the case of the Queen of Swords, it's about being able to pass a great deal of information and make sense of it. You bullshit detector gets a bit of a workout when the Queen of Swords appears, but she's looking for either that which is true versus that which is not, that which is useful versus that which is not. But it's a great deal of information coming through. Now, the fact that we've got the Page of Swords in here as well means that whatever this new information is that has come to you, it does feel like it's lit you up, and now you're kind of throwing yourself into something that maybe you haven't had a true understanding of before, but now you're really getting it. Now, what this might look like for you, it can express itself in many ways, it can manifest itself in many ways. Now, it could be actually a brand new skill, and I say that specifically because the Magician is here. Or a whole new branch of something that you're interested in that has suddenly come to your attention as relevant, and you're doing that Sagittarius thing. Like, Sagittarians get a lot of flack for being, I don't know, for the want of a better word, sometimes a little bit flaky, but everything has its opposite, right? So there are things that maybe to other people you appear like you're flaky in, maybe it's timekeeping and stuff like that. But when it's something important, when it's something that you really, shall we say, emotionally engage with, or when it's something that really fires up your passions, you become quite obsessive about that thing, and you will learn everything that there is to know about that thing in a very, very short space of time, and surprise people with what you come out with on the other side, you know. Anyway, let's get on with the cards. So in your recent past, we have the Hermit, right? And that's Virgo energy, like I said, and deals with somewhat of an internal journey. Now, I think for you, actually, rather than an internal journey per se, what we've got is a sense of playing your cards close to your chest. And I don't think it's because, I don't think there's any kind of secretive reason for it. It's just that you've been quite stum. Maybe it's about the plans that you had. But maybe also because there wasn't really anything to say. There were lots of things to say, but there wasn't really anything to say that was of use outside of you. And I don't know whether for some of you it might have been that you were not wanting to nudge the universe too far either way. Be too declaratory about your plans. But there's a sense that rather than being absolutely consumed by hope, what you are choosing to be consumed with is mastery of self, right? Trying to keep everything in balance. And it's because so many things have been unbalanced, in so much as there has been so much uncertainty around you at this time. Now, you're not alone in that experience. I think if it's there have been two themes that have dominated the private readings that I've done recently, and the first was uncertainty. The other was community, interestingly enough, but uncertainty was a big one. And how to navigate uncertainty. Now, as it happens, because you are the Knight of Wands, there's much more there's much more fluidity, much more flexibility in you as mutable fire than there is for, say, a lot of other people. And uncertainty forms actually quite a large part of what excites you about stuff. Because you're very present-minded, you can see opportunities that perhaps other people miss because they're too busy focusing on an end result. And you're like, well, actually, what's in front of me right here? The King of Swords does speak to making decisions, but he's a clarity of thought, a clarity of perspective that is very mature and helping you out a lot here. So rather than, like I said, playing your cards close to your chest because you had a secret, because you didn't want anybody to know, it was more like, let's see where the uncertainty takes us. Because I do feel like there was a deep sense in you that things are playing out exactly as they should. And rather than attaching to an outcome and being like, it has to be that thing, it's like, well, let's see where this is taking us. Because it's taking us somewhere, and I'm along for the ride. All the while keeping the King of Swords very, very active. If there are decisions to be made, being able to make them very, very swiftly indeed. But doing them from a position of having all of the information, because you've had your thinking caps on, Sagittarius. Now, what about this? Is there anything else to add to this? Yeah. And it's all concerning a new start, the beginning of a new cycle for you. And I think because the uncertainty has been of a particular sort, is that you haven't allowed yourself to get too upset by it, right? Remain fleet of foot, fleet of mind. And as opportunities are popping up, there's been quick explore. Is this the way? No, it's not this one. We'll wait, we'll be patient. Something's coming along. Like, there's something very fated about the energy that you find yourself in at the moment. And I feel like you tuned into that very, very quickly. And so if something hasn't played out the way that you hoped it might, it's like on to the next. This is fine. We're not going to lose any sleep being emotionally invested in this over here, because it is obviously not the thing. So we're going to keep moving. Got the Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck there. And maybe it is that you're following a feeling. Maybe you're following a trail. But the uncertainty, it seems, to you, above all other signs, except maybe Scorpio and Pisces, because those two are really, they're really flying at the moment. Chaos is somewhat of your, it's certainly a factor in your native condition. Kind of like it when it's chaotic. You kind of like it when things aren't going exactly to plan. This is where you really bloom, I think, Sagittarius. So, bearing in mind everything that I've just said about the uncertainty playing a very specific role and taking you somewhere very specific, we arrive at the Page of Swords. Now, the Page of Swords is new information coming along. And given that we've been in a position of uncertainty where things have felt quite unstable, and it's like, there's no structure here per se, this new information that's come in the present moment has been very, very welcome indeed. Not because it gives you the certainty, but because it's lit you up with something exciting, right? There's a new idea, a new perspective, a new way of seeing the world, or focus on a new skill, a new way that you can acquire knowledge about something, and correspondingly put it into action, because we have the King of Wands there. Now, the King of Wands is strictly the card of Leo, as this is the card of Aquarius. But broadly speaking, it can indicate a fire sign generally, or anybody who's actually in a position where they want to take action on something or are taking action on something. So it's very definitely you, Sagittarius. And we've got it coupled here with the Magician. Like, you feel like you have stepped into something fucking awesome. This is the only way I can really put it. Something that has inspired you, right? Got the creative juices flowing, and changed the way that you're looking at a lot of things. The uncertainty as was is what has allowed the magnitude of whatever new thing that you've discovered here, whatever new information has come in, to do exactly what it was supposed to do, which is get you to a place of being like, oh, this is very cool. This is very, very cool. And allow your visualization process to take you off somewhere else, somewhere that you may not have come to without it. Let me talk about this Magician. All right, I'm going to take that as confirmation. It's the Page of Swords again. You feel, the word that I want to use, Sagittarius, is a reignited. And I'm using that very specifically because Sagittarians don't take much igniting in the first place, and generally your pilot light is always on. Let's put it that way. If not, the whole fucking boiler, as it were. But this reignition seems to have blown you up in the best possible way. Even hotter, even brighter, even more excited, even more creative than usual. And there's something really powerful with this. Now, the Magician is Gemini or Virgo energy. Not that I think that that's particularly important at this point. But I will just add that it's really interesting to me as a reader that having done Virgo's reading, Sagittarius had its hoof prints all over that. And I said to Virgo, I know that there was a point a couple of years ago, it's probably back in 2020 now, where Sagittarius was being quite disruptive in your environment, right? And we had Virgo Sagittarius marriages that were breaking down. We had all sorts of things going on. It was very disruptive to the Virgo vibe, right? And I said to them, there was something that you have been needing to learn from Sagittarius. And then correspondingly, we have double Virgo energy here that says that you, Sagittarius, had something to learn from Virgo. Now, whether or not you were married to a Virgo, whether there was one in your environment, or you're a parent who was constantly tearing their hair out over what you were doing was a Virgo, or even a child, actually. But there has been something about Virgo that has been necessary for you to take into yourself, like make it quintessentially Sagittarian. But maybe it's grounded, maybe it's practicality, maybe it's paying attention to the detail, because Sagittarius is all about the big picture of things. We don't worry about the details, they'll work themselves out, and often that's true with you, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes when you're looking to change your life entirely, the way that you have done things forever is not enough. You need to have brought in new information, new skills, new perspectives, and take them into yourselves, make them yours, so that you express them in a very Sagittarian way. But you understand the value that every other sign brings to the table. We all have things that we can learn from other people. So for them, for Virgos, it was fucking loosening up a little bit, right? Allowing themselves to have fun, allowing themselves to be spontaneous, allowing themselves occasionally to take their eye off the micro details, not be quite so critical, and be much more accepting, kind of bigger kind of energy, because Virgo can get very narrow. The reverse is true for you. Maybe it is that you need to pay attention to the details. A little bit of forethought would go a long way. You're always going to be very fluid, and I always say about Sagittarius, you can spin on a sixpence, and that's really, really useful. But I think that the new start, the future that you have in mind, is beginning to take shape, and attention to detail is really, really important. I don't feel like this is weighing you down in any way. I think this is actually lighting you up, because you do seem to be interested in the details of things here, so that you can go out there and absolutely smash whatever it is that you've got planned. Here, tell me about these two cards here. It's King of Wands again. 5 of Wands. So we've got double King of Wands, we've got 5 of Wands. Let's see what else we've got. 2 of Swords. Now the 5 of Wands is a card that traditionally is associated with conflict or competition, and I actually don't sense any of those there for you. What the 5 of Wands is also is it not Saturn? Saturn in Leo. It's about being able to work hard at something. It's actually, Saturn is about paying attention to the detail of things. My Saturn's in Virgo. It's a hideous placement. It's about struggle being necessary before you get to the victory. It's very interesting. I was doing a workshop with Marion Kirk over at Circle on the decans of the tarot. And this struggle, so that one might be victorious, was something that we actually talked about specifically with this pairing of cards in that workshop. Because you cannot be successful at something, you cannot win, you cannot succeed if you haven't been in some way in competition with, having some sort of struggle to best, those sorts of energies. 6 of Wands just wouldn't apply otherwise. And we have the 2 of Swords, which is more often associated with what we do not see, or what we do not allow ourselves to see. The funny thing is, the way that I'm reading these cards here, tying it back to the uncertainty there, like, you have known that you had to endure the uncertainty. You knew that there was a point to it, and you knew that what it was pointing towards was not available to you at this point, and you went with it anyway. Now, some signs would have had an absolute meltdown about that, but you trusted the process. And I think that above everything else was a huge what's the word that I'm looking for? Confirmation for the universe that you were ready for the next cycle. Let's put it that way. Because it's not just uncertainty for uncertainty's sake. There was an absolute trust that what was being laid out was right for you. So we don't need to see the end. We just need to trust the process. And that's what you've done. And it's absolutely magnificent. So what we've got coming towards you is the King of Cups in April. And I like this very much, because do you remember how I said you weren't getting emotionally invested? Right? Bit of mental investigation. Is this the right thing? Door closed? No, it's not that. That's fine. We'll just be uncertain for a little bit longer. That's cool. I'm just going to vibe here being a Sagittarius, But everything seems to have exploded Yeah, we got some heavy drama energy going on here, Sag, but it's as a result of the passion and the creativity. It's not as a result of any kind of fractious energy that is around you, or even you being in a state of conflict with other people. It's like the energy levels have stepped up for you now, and because now everything's starting to work itself out, and you see the point of the uncertainty, and you see the point of the faith, and you see the point of the trust, you see that confirmation that all of those things were very, very good. Now is the time to become emotionally invested. Now is the time to absolutely immerse yourself in whatever new things, as it pertains to you specifically, have arrived in your life. I'm so excited for you, Sagittarius. I'm getting all kind of like dry mouthed with excitement about it. Because you know you're on the right path. You know what is showing up now is exactly for you. And in some ways, it's better than you could have hoped for. Maybe it wasn't the thing that you thought you were heading towards, but it's turned up and it's actually better. Which is often the way that it works, when you're showing this kind of, when you're doing these acts of demonstration to the universe. And I'm a really big proponent of acts of demonstration, right? It's not just that you have learned a thing about how the universe works and the lessons that it brings to you and what you are expected to have understood from them, but then how you adjust your life accordingly. And you've done it. So here we have the Five of Swords and we have the Chariot. Now, the King of Cups is about emotional investment. Right? Emotional stability, the emotional stability that comes actually from knowing that it doesn't really matter what's going on outside of you, what's going on inside is of supreme importance. But it really is about the active expression of emotion, active expression of the water. It's about allowing yourself to be completely consumed by this now, because it's where you're supposed to be. And we've got the Chariot. Also watery energy. It's the card of Cancer for me in the major arcana, and it does talk to the self a lot. So it talks about self-discipline and self-motivation, two traits that I think you've been showing a great deal of in the last few months. But it's also about self-mastery. It's about everything to do with the self. If you can tax self as a prefix onto a word, then it's covered for me by the Chariot. But it's also about determination and goal setting and getting everything straight so that you can take yourself off in a direction without the sphinxes pulling you apart either way or the other. Let's have a look at this Five of Swords. Why is this Five of Swords here? We've got the Page of Wands. And we've got the Four of Swords. That's interesting. With the Nine of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I mean, the Nine of Wands is Moon in Sagittarius, right? It's a card that talks about resilience, often. It can talk about boundaries. But because it's the Moon in Sagittarius, I feel like for you, and I've seen this a lot, it's been coming up a lot in the last few weeks, the development of a personal philosophy around whatever new information that you have, whatever skills you are developing, right? Whatever intent you've got, plus the emotion, right? All of it kind of webbing together to create the bones of the new life that you are making for yourself, Sag. It's like Sagittarius on steroids. Because if you thought you've been excited about things before, where you are now, it's like getting ready to access that next level of energy by tapping into levels of creativity that you have not experienced before. And that can express itself in all sorts of different ways. It doesn't have to be a hands-on creative pursuit. It can be something much more broad spectrum than that, in terms of the size of the ideas that you're having, right? The way that you're allowing your personal philosophy to be shaped and moulded by the universe, but also quintessentially yours. It's the way that you feel tapped in right now, Sag. Like everything is possible. everything is possible and nothing is off the table. And we've got these cards here. Now the Five of Swords, I actually feel is your capacity for self-sabotage. If I could use one phrase to describe Sagittarius before they get to a point of maturity, it would be creatively destructive. And that can be self-destructive and destructive in lots of other ways too. I mean, hopefully for all Sagittarians, that settles down at a point when you have experienced all the extremes of things and you find a place where you can occupy in the center, where you know how far you can take something before things start to get destructive. That's a really valuable piece of information. But while you're off exploring up here, it can be incredibly creatively destructive. Yeah, so it's a thing of art to watch happen, actually. But we're not about that life anymore. We don't want to be about that life anymore. And I think that's what these two cards are talking about here. Your capacity for self-sabotage as absolutely, gloriously unnecessary as it has been your entire life, is being replaced with something much more valuable. Like we've got a step down here in the Four of Swords, which is it's often to do with taking a break. You can say taking a break from something, taking a step back from something. But I actually think it's your capacity to control yourself so that you don't get to that point of creative destruction, self or otherwise. You don't get to that point of self-sabotage, because ultimately the Chariot card would also talk about self-sabotage. It's about having in some way mastered yourself so that you can allow the creative part of you to start being free. It's like in some ways the limits to your creativity have been removed. Now I think this is really quite interesting, because we have to question why they were there in the first place. And when we've got these two cards here that would absolutely be talking about the self, then in some ways, as absurd as it might seem, Sagittarius, you have been keeping yourself battened down in places. Now maybe it's because the only way up until this point that you have experienced the extent of your creativity is in that act of creative destruction. Oh, wow, I was really creative with the way I fucked that thing up right there, or really creative with the way that I fucked myself over right now, which is probably more appropriate. But because you have brought yourself into this state of alignment, and it's so closely related to what's been going on here, it's like now you can let your creativity flow. The inspiration can come out, the activity can come out. You feel like you're completely focused on a thing, and it's lighting you up like nothing else ever has, because you get to be exactly as creative as you are, without the fear of destruction following it. It's not a self-sabotage situation here. I mean, this is extraordinary, Sagittarius. And I do recall in the 6-month overviews that I did, you were the only sign that didn't get the Tower. You were the only sign that wasn't having the shit kicked out of them by the universe over and over again. I saw it happening with all of the signs. But I also saw the exponential growth of all of the signs as they recognized these towers for what they are, what they were, and allowed them to do their job, release whatever was keeping them stuck, and then to start on this, incredible trajectory, really steep trajectory of growth. And that wasn't there for you, Sagittarius. It wasn't there at all. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with Sag that they get to have this easy ride? Except it wasn't an easy ride. There was lots of stuff going on, but there was nothing that you had to be kicked for. Your message for this 6-month period seemed to be a very different one that was kind of turned 90 degrees to everybody else's. And it seemed to be around this comfortable with uncertainty, having faith in yourself. Oh, this is the big one, Sagittarius. It's the faith in yourself. Faith in the process, faith in your connection to God, Spirit, the universe, the field, source, however you want to call it. I don't think the names are important, right? But it's that sense of connection. It's that sense of being guided. It's that sense of knowing, not just thinking, not just hoping, but knowing that everything is going to work out right for you. Not because it's toxically positive, but because what's right for you is going to be perfect for you, regardless of whether it's what you thought you wanted or not. And as a result, the creativity, the passion in you that has been hitherto shackled down by you in some way or another, and definitely, you know, as a result of the experiences that you've had and the things that people have taught you. I mean, maybe it's even Virgo had something to do with that at some point, right? You're being released. You're being freed. This is monumental. I don't know what you're about to pull off, Sagittarius, but your life is going to change. And you know that. You can feel that. It's happening already. The excitement about the new is very, very present. And it's only going to get bigger. I often said, when I think about the fire element, Aries represents the spark, right? It's the initiation. It's the abrasive action, actually, of the flint on stone, right? That creates the spark, and then something is alight. And Leo becomes that home fire, you know, the home fire that burns, whether it's a small bonfire or something, right? It keeps us warm. It can be managed. It can be utilized for for specific purposes, right? It's got that consistency to it, right? So it's the fire in a stove, or it's the fire in a fireplace, or it's the fire in the garden, you know? Sagittarius is the wildfire. Sagittarius is the energy that can go into something that can either destroy fucking half a continent, or it can eradicate all of the dead wood, like you see burning on the hills, right? Especially in the north. Up here, it's a bit more towards Yorkshire, to be honest, where they burn off all the dead wood, all the dead heather and dead gorse, and they create this clean area where the new shoots can come through. I think we're about to get a sense of just how powerful Sagittarius can be when they unleash what has always sat there, because now they can control it. Ooh, this is exciting. Right, Sagittarius, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, and we're going to pull apart April, see what it is that you need to know. But I have to say, it looks fucking glorious for you, so don't be concerned in the slightest. It looks really, really good. I'm excited for you. So if you'd like to join me over there, like I said, that is the first link in the description box, or you can come over to Circle if that's what you would like to. No pressure either way, and actually if neither of those appeal to you at all, just know that April is going to be exactly what you make it, and that means it's going to be fucking awesome. Like, it's just end of discussion. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.